everybody. Welcome to InPsight Radio. I am your host, Danielle Egnew, and you are a fly on the wall to everywhere. Happy summer, everybody. Can you even believe that we are this far into June already? I mean, this is crazy. Yesterday was summer solstice. It was June 21st. And that's my wife's favorite time of year. It's when it's light all the time. And she always gets sad right afterwards because we start to lose the light. And of course, my wife is a professional photographer, so she really focuses on all the light, which is amazing. However, we are in June, so I am apologizing in advance for my really rough, kind of gravelly diner waitress voice I've got going on right now. It's June in Montana, and all of the cottonwoods are blooming. And so I am really just sounding like I'm sucking wind 9 ways to Sunday today. So sorry about that, you guys. I have the worst allergies. I'm going to get right to it because we coming up in July, okay, probably towards the end of the month, I'm looking ahead in the future. And for all of you UAP, UFO enthusiasts, we're going to have some serious government disclosures coming up. And I feel like it's going to be towards the end of July. It's sometime in July. I don't know how much the government is going to disclose, but there is going to be some disclosure information about our UAPs and UFOs, which is really exciting. So this could not come at a better time. I had some questions submitted to me by a young human being named Seb. And Seb submitted some incredibly intelligent questions to ask off-worlders. And it's not even just any off-worlders. Zeb wanted to talk to the Arcturian, which we call the Arcturians. And as a quick refresher, that's the group of incredible beings out there who have been coming to Earth for years and years and years. And they have been the ones who brought us the basic formats of Buddhism, Taoism. We are all connected, highly telepathic species, very peaceful species. We tend to mispronounce the names, really, of this race. And we tend to call them the Arcturians. The Arcturians out there in their spaceships. But really, the way that the best I can do with my human ear, they have a little bit different pronunciation, and it's all telepathic, so that's always fun, is Arcturian. So Seb submitted all of these questions, and I tell you what, they're incredible. I mean, I got these questions and I thought to myself, man, everybody wants to know this from our off-world friends. And like I said, I'm kind of feeling into July of this year, and I feel like we've got a lot of UAP disclosure coming. I don't know how much they're going to disclose with the federal government, but I can feel it coming. So I think it's time we start to have a few more of these conversations just regarding our off-world family. Because really, I mean, there's no reason that we need to be acting like this is all a great big fat mystery. It's kind of weird, okay? So we're going to get started with Seb's questions. Here we go. Directed at the Arcturian. I've got them on the horn here. I've got them out in space. I know that sounds weird, but they are multidimensional and interdimensional travelers. So I have an opportunity to have a few of these beings telepathically on the horn for an interview today, which is really nice. And one of these days, you guys, we're going to learn that our off-world communities have been coming to this planet for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years. We have megalithic architecture that shows they've been here that could never have been achieved through chisels and axes and slaves. And, we try to put it into human scope and it just can't be made that way. And this goes beyond the pyramids in Giza. So we really should be talking more about these beings because they're real. Okay? They're real. And I think it's important that we begin to treat them that way rather than, oh, what if it was hypothetically a thing where there were aliens out there in space? Well, there are. They've been coming here forever. I have an Arcturian being here to answer these questions. So here we go. Seb. Question for the beings. What do you find most interesting about humans and our civilization? And I'm going to paraphrase you guys because they have a bit of a different cadence than we do. This is a whole different culture. So I'm going to do a little translation here. This being our culture, they think we are so fascinating because we are all innately deeply connected, but we don't believe that we are. They are fascinated by our adherence to illusion that we are separate, even though we're probably one of the most Bluetoothed and spiritually and energetically connected races out there in the universe. They find our ability to be able to connect through our biology or in spite of our biology to be huge. They think this is really fascinating. And one of the things that this being is saying is that we don't give ourselves enough credit as beings who run on so much chemistry. We have a lot of different chemistry, you guys, that they don't have. And so when, with the question, what do you find most interesting about humans and our civilization? Literally, they said our connection, our ability to care for one another, our ability to love and be compassionate and kind to people that we've never, ever met because there's a biological need to connect. They think that this is an extraordinary ability. They think that our connection to our host planet or our mother planet is powerful. And they think it's interesting. They translate the word interesting a little. We think of interesting as like, ooh, cool. Think of them like Spock a little bit, like the Vulcans. It's more like, a planet blows up and Spock looks at it and goes, fascinating. So they also use interesting in the fascinating kind of way here. And they also think it's interesting that our civilization is killing, is in the process of killing our support system with the planet. They think it's interesting that we're trying to extinct ourselves, acting like it's not going to extinct us because we take for granted the gifts or what is given to us by our planet because we evolved in symbiosis with our planet. So they think it's interesting we're trying to kill ourselves. They think that's fascinating. I don't. They do. Okay. Do you celebrate holidays? I'm asking this being. It's trying to figure out what a holiday. Do you celebrate markers in a moment or time where something significant happens, or you remember something significant on a day? And see, day is hard too with the Oturan. They have a different way of looking at space, time, days, nights, the whole thing. So this gets a little dicey here. Okay, this being understands basically what I'm talking about. Do you celebrate holidays? Do you have meritorious markers in different time frames? They're trying to explain this, and this is a little hard, and I'll do my best. They have such a different society, you guys. They're telepathic beings. The Oturan exist on a planet where they don't speak with their mouth, they speak with their mind. And I mean, I know that sounds lame, but that's what they do. That's what they do. So they actually speak with their mind, and it is that connection with one another that leaves them present. This being is telling me that they are present of all meritorious actions. They're present of all always. They're always aware of the big issues and the big, really interesting, pressing. Okay, let me back this up. They don't have a need to celebrate a holiday like, oh, it's Christmas, or, oh, we're going to mark this point in time. Because if they were doing that, I mean, it's such an old civilization, they'd be there for 1,000,000 years, celebrating everything that's ever been to come. More what this being is showing me is they have an opportunity to link together as an entire planet. And when they link together as an entire planet, they are able to corral energies and they send it to healing. Any beings on the planet they're indicating that need healing, water, trees, whatever might need healing, they send that healing then onward. So there are 2 times in what we would call like a calendar year. And keeping in mind their life cycle is different, their lifespan is different, their year time is different. It's not 365 here. They are working on a different system that we're not used to. So I'd say twice a year, they have an opportunity to have this incredible link up. And that's all they do. All day is link up for the entire day cycle and pass around energy in order to pass healing so that they can help heal their populations and their planet. which is really kind of cool. So maybe 2 times a year, this sort of kind of holiday thing happens. Otherwise, this being says that they are in constant observance, and they are in constant observance, and that's what they do. They just focus and they settle in with one another, and they are really, really focused on helping each other grow. So yeah, I guess you could call it a collective healing holiday. That's cool. That's a cool thing. So, okay, moving on. Oh my gosh, Seb has so many incredible questions, and I feel like I'm giving you guys really thin brushstrokes on these, but in the interest of time, I'm trying to get through them. Do you have physical or energetic bodies? Okay, these beings have physical bodies, although they are able to adjust the particle matter in their bodies to flex with the craft that they fly. You have to remember that a lot of these civilizations that are off-world civilizations, gang, they have developed all kinds of technology that flexes with them. That's how they're able to go through wormholes and do all kinds of things in terms of interstellar travel that we really have a hard time doing. So yeah, that's kind of an amazing thing. But yes, they are physical in their being. They just know how to augment, like Jedi Knights, their particle matter a little bit, and it can enable them to travel differently. But they are physical. They are physical. Okay, what kind of technology do you have? Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. Okay. I'm just going to really just bullet point this one, because their technology is so far out there from what we've got. They have devices that will literally peel energy out of the dark matter, okay, out of dark matter in the galaxy. I mean, in the universe, it's pretty amazing in their galaxy. They have technology that is built into their particular bricks that they make buildings out of. And when they get in there to construct these buildings, the actual buildings and bricks themselves conduct energy so they can continue on as the highly telepathic society that they are. I mean, this is incredible stuff that they've got going on. They have technology that allows them to fly through what we call wormholes, or they call them punctures or fissures in space. They have technology that it's not a machine, it's part of their body. It's biological technology that allows them to heal one another. It allows them to create things like water. We would think of them as magicians, magical wizards, creating things out of thin air. And the fact of the matter is, they're not creating things out of thin air. What they're doing is they are using the particle matter in their dimension, and they just know how to do it. They know how to navigate all of that. So for them, this isn't necessarily technology. We think of technology like machines. They think of technology as, how do I biologically, mentally, and spiritually focus on energies in order to translate them and transpose them and move them across and get this energy transposed. So they have, we think of it as a hologram, but it's not something that's captured in a machine. They share memory downloads with one another. That's pretty intense. So there's a lot of biological, technological issues here. They don't have a lot of waste, because when they're done with something, when they use something, they don't have a money-based system, so there's not that consumer-based packaging. But if there's something like an old piece of clothing or something that it's time for them to repurpose it, they biologically, through their hands, can vibrate those particles apart and break it down to a molecular level until it's just beyond silt. So they can break things down, they can repurpose things. And again, this is all about energies that go through the body. So they don't do much with, they do have machines as we would think of them, but you guys, we're trying to compare, I don't know, carved stone bowls to plastic Tupperware. I mean, it's really difficult. They're kind of the same shape, but they're not even made out of the same stuff. So a lot of the biological technologies that they have then manifest themselves into materials like these kind of this gray gold stone type of rounded edge brick, big bricks that they make everything out of that can conduct electromagnetic and other bandwidths of energy that we wouldn't quite use or understand, but they sure do. So they have a lot of technologies. They don't need telephones because there's a lot of telepathy. They don't need to send something via parcel mail because they do a lot with the reconstitution of matter. So think of like beaming something to somebody. Again, they don't have a need for a lot of stuff or things because they just don't. I mean, they just don't. They eat, but they absorb light. So, I mean, there's all kinds of different ways that they exist here. And we still use a lot of technological tools that we require to make our lives better. And if you can imagine these guys being wizards or like Jedi Knights who just can move space-time particles, the Oturan are much more in that vein. And so again, this is the off-world civilization, you guys, that really was heavily instrumental in bringing us Buddhism, Taoism, all of these different isms, that we are part of everything else, that we can meditate, that we don't need to struggle. We can, in fact, become one and transmute matter. That's this group. So again, it's hard to talk about technology because their technology is so vastly different. They do have metal alloys, but their metal alloys are very different than the types of metal alloys that we have. So again, we're talking a really different technology base. It's kind of hard to really put them in the same place at the same time. It gets a little strange. So they have a lot of different technologies that we have, mostly because they understand how to deal with energies through their bodies. And their bodies are some of the biggest technological, I guess you could say, advancers that they have, which I think is fascinating. How old in Earth years are you? And I'm talking to this Oturan being here. And the being is doing some math. That would be 1,122 of our years by the way that we calculate revolving around the sun. And I'm going to ask this being a reverse question. So that's how many years old you would be in our years. How old do you say that you are? Okay, this being just came back with a number that I could get my brain around. And this being for them says what they would think of as 46. And I'm asking this being, how did you come up with that number? If you're 1,122 of our Earth years old, but you're 46 years old in your Earth years, does that have to do with how many rotations around? Do you count your age according to how many rotations you make around your star? Because that's how we define a year. Is that how you're counting your age? This being says no, that they calculate they are using, this being is using an equivalent age in maturity. They're using an equivalent, like if they measured someone on Earth, an average 40-some-year-old person, how old are they going to seem? What are their life experiences? Where are they at in their growth? The Oturans say that this being says that they do not measure their age in years, how many times they rotate around a sun or their sun. They mark their time, they said, in experiences. That kind of reminds me of our Plains Native culture, which never really thought of like how many days, how many nights. It was more like they thought of things in events, like the time I had my first baby, or the time that, that season where we all converged on the buffalo. This being is saying that they think about their age in terms of events. So they're using an equivocation between the amount of, I guess, relative experience they would accrue on their planet and someone who is about 46 years old here, because they don't even count age the same way we count age. So 1,122 Earth years, or 46. So apparently they don't have that many meritorious things that happen to mark, or they don't find them to be as meritorious. To my comment that I just made, because they heard me say that, they said that they feel that we are a younger species. So we tend to, and I'm paraphrasing here into human terms here, but we tend to get hung up on more excited. We're more excitable about smaller things. It's not that they don't find passion in smaller things. They've just been around a long time. So less things are of notice or of marker to them, of merit to them. And it's not that they're bored or boring. Life is enough for the Oturan. Being alive is enough. Being connected is enough. Being one with the quantum field is enough. Intergalactical and interdimensionally traveling is enough. They don't need to add things like birthdays, holidays. They've got so much going on. They're translating the entire universe that the big days for them are when they receive their appointments or anointments or like what they're going to do with their life until they decide what to do with the next thing. Their purpose is turned into the universe. That's a big deal for them. So they really they're very present. They live in the now. And because of that, time just flies around them. So they view time differently than we do, which I think is really fascinating. It kind of blows my mind, actually, as I listen to this being talk about that. So next, Seb's next question. Do you inhabit multiple planets, multiple realms, multiple planets? This being says, yes, 3. There are 3. One is a main homeworld, the Oturan homeworld, which we're talking about. There are 2 that are close by, and they do not claim dominion over these planets. They said, as we would. They don't do that. They just happen to live there. So imagine on Earth, if we went out and found an island that was not claimed by anybody, and you just went out there and lived peacefully, they indicate that they live with other beings out there on these different worlds. So there are 3 planets they inhabit. There is one main planet that is mostly theirs. And so 1 that they're from, but 3 that they hang out on. That's what this being is telling me. That's fascinating. What is your influence on Earth? Seb asks. What is your culture or your race's influence on Earth? This being was like, I don't do much on Earth. I came here because you wanted to talk. That's my influence on Earth. What they're talking about is, again, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, they are showing me in the past that we've had time frames where Taoism, Buddhism, these different isms were brought to the planet. Also some architecture. And again, I think we might have covered that earlier, but tall, skinny pyramids, very tall, skinny pyramids, more like towers like we see in Angkor Wat in Thailand. There's a lot of spiritual principles and meditative principles and transcendence principles that the Oturan have brought to Earth and taught other Earth beings. This being just said, we share a lot of the opportunities and potentials for being able, as one group, being able to utilize many different energetic sources. So they've tried to teach us a lot about astral projection, meditation all the way up the spine. We think transcendental meditation. These were practices that they brought to early humans. And so a lot of our spiritual cultures have been influenced. I don't want to say that the Oturan have tried to make themselves gods in our eyes. They have absolutely fought not to be seen as that. There were other off-world beings that kind of got on board with the whole "call me a god" kind of thing, but it wasn't these guys. So let's say spiritual practice, transcendent practices, and how to move energy through the body. A lot of that is Oturan. A lot of it is. We think of that as Palladian a lot of times, which it is, but it's also the Oturan. So I think that's fascinating. Okay, next question. Do you think of humans as primitive beings? This being said, not in our design, not in our spiritual design. This being is talking about the fact that we are actually highly evolved spiritually. We've forgotten that evolution. We've talked ourselves out of that evolution. We've talked ourselves into believing that we're just these numbskulls who have to ride around packing a pistol on our side to protect ourselves, unless you're a martial artist and you recognize the power of the energies of the body. This being is talking about the fact that we are not primitive in our design. They wouldn't even call us primitive. They say we are limited, not primitive, limited in how we choose to think about our existence. We limit ourselves. And this being is saying we limit ourselves because we are afraid. So I would agree with all of that. So apparently we're not primitive. We are held at bay with our gifts and talents, this being says, for financial gain, basically, because we're kept in the dark so people can make money. And I think we all pretty much know that. Like, we're all stuck in cars with gasoline for oil, and that draws money and put, So a lot of what this being is indicating is that we are very, very spiritually advanced beings. We just don't believe we are, because we're kept suppressed by a consumerist system and a system of avarice and money that keeps us separate, or what we think would be separate, from actually advancing. So I agree with that being. I sure do. I think that's absolutely true. Okay, next question. Do you have plants and animals where you're from? They do. They do. Actually, Oturan has an extremely lush forest system. They don't have oceans as large as ours. They have large bodies of water, but the water is not as oxygen rich as ours is. It's kind of more methane-y. They have a different type of breathing system. They're not as heavy on the oxygen on their planet, but their plants have evolved to that. And again, if you look at the light on their planet, it's very peach colored because of their star. So whereas our light has a very big blue tint because of a lot of our planet is reflecting blue light, right? We've got an ocean that reflects blue light. A lot of their planet is peach colored. And so they're man, when you look at their forests, the light is different. And so a lot of their plants look bluish instead of green. And they evolve to take different gases out of the air. So they do have plants, they do have animals, they do have pets, and they mentally, or if you want to call it telepathically, communicate with all of these beings. So if you kind of want to think about Avatar and the way all of the world kind of, clued in on each other in a way, that's more very much their civilization. They are not separate. They are telepathically connected to everything around them. So yeah, they have pets, they have trees, plants, but they look very, very different than ours because they're not oxygen based, which would make sense. Okay, next question. Do you think of humans as, going forward, what is your collective goal as a civilization? Ooh, that's a big one, Seb. Jeez. What is your collective goal as a civilization? Okay, this being is not even understanding the question. Let me reframe it. Do you feel that your civilization is striving to make change for your whole civilization, or are you striving towards an outcome for your civilization? Still a little lost on the concept. Let me put this into perspective for human beings. We have a goal. We strive to, as a collective, to reduce carbon emissions. I'm sure you've been following that on our planet. We strive to cure cancer. There are things we're trying to achieve that will better our civilization. Cancer is a disease of the body that, okay, you know what that is. So, we're striving as a collective. So is there anything that you strive as okay, now it's understanding. Striving as a collective. They strive as a collective to bring peace to all other dimensions. They strive as a collective to bring peace to the quantum field. They strive as a collective to take dissonance and pain out of where dissonance and pain bunch up. They strive to bring ease, because as there is ease in one, there is ease in all. They understand we are all connected, so they are designed and they participate in working to strive as a collective to bring peace and ease to all others, they said. And that goes from interdimensionally, it goes to particle matter, it goes to all others. So they don't think of it as a goal, they think of it as just striving to be part of this collective that brings peace, which I think is amazing. What a cool thing. I wish I could do that as human beings. God, that's cool. Okay, next question. Boy, Seb, these are good, man. These are good. Do you tell fictional stories and enjoy art or philosophy? I tell you what, Seb, I think you need to be hired to be an intergalactic interfacer. I really do. These are terrific questions. Do you enjoy fictional stories and enjoy art and philosophy? Fictional. They're getting stuck on fictional. Art and philosophy, yes. This being is saying everything is, I'm going to translate some words here, but everything is an allegory. It's impossible to describe life without drawing from other portions of life. So their entire civilization is more allegorical than ours is. Art, yes, they do have art. They have these beautiful, interesting clothing. They do have interpretive energies they send to one another. Once in a while, they make art that's visual, but a lot of times it's mental. Imagine being able to share, like an NFT, you guys, like I create art, right? And I put it out there on the NFT universe. The NFT universe allows us to be able to pass around a great deal of artwork that's digital. They do pass art. A lot of it is in the mind, but you think you can also, they can overlay images in their mind. Like say I'm looking at a white wall and in my mind, I call it imagining a picture. They can actually project a picture onto that white wall, so to speak. So yes, art is a big deal. It's just in different forms. And they do some physical art at times. And the reason that they do it is, oh, wow. Okay. They just said for that, the reason that I do it, it is to place energy in an object so that object will emanate that energy. And oftentimes it's used to augment a space. And they feel that we as humans and they have a great deal in common in the art world, except they are very hyper aware of the fact that when they put energy into their artwork, it affects a room or it affects a civilization or it affects a Capitol building. They're doing it like charging a battery, so it will give off a frequency. And this being says, as you do, and this being is right. When I paint pictures, I am using colors that have a particular vibration in them. I'm using images that have a particular energetic meaning so that those pictures will actually augment, when those paintings hang on the wall, the energy in a room. So I understand what this being is talking about. So yes, art is huge for them. Philosophy, it's they are storytellers. These are the parable tellers, parables. They feel that parables and allegories are very important in learning because parables sum up so much without having to use as many words, they said. So yes, art and philosophy are a thing, and we've even had some of their philosophy passed to us through different spiritual practices, which I think is really cool. So the next question from Seb, do you have opinions or only believe facts and logic? They're hung up on the word believe. Let's see if we can, they don't understand the question. Do you form opinions, observations about different things, or do you only form observations based on what you can see, facts and logic, what you can intuit as irrefutable? They're just staring at me like, well, yeah, I mean, that's being alive, right? You observe, you form your own observance or opinion based upon what is presented. So they do have opinions, what we would call opinions. They call them observances. You see how weird this gets, you guys, with translation? I mean, this gets a little crazy. They do have opinions, but they don't act on them in the same way that we would. As a matter of fact, if they have an opinion that's too out of resonance or too out of coherence with their world, it'll knock right out of their head. It'll vibrate out of their head. Not that they're being mind controlled, but if everybody's in the peace, love, and harmony zone, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of beings that aren't, then you're going to notice a dissonance, and that dissonance is going to begin to resonate in the mind. And it literally will vibrate that thought right out of your head. It's too dissonant from what everybody else is experiencing. So it's not a mind control. It's just not consistent with the energy that is there. So they're not like us. We don't have a million different, they're so connected. They understand one another. And once in a while they are showing me, that they've got illnesses and hiccups in the mind and what we would call the brain, even though their brain is wildly different than ours. But there are things that can happen biologically. They can get their own race beings to be a little wiggly and strange, and they have the opportunity and the biological technology to heal those people. in their society, to heal those beings in their society. So yeah, they do have opinions, and they are oftentimes based on what is most commonly resourceful for the whole. But they don't get into opinion wars like we do. There's no need for that. They understand each other, which I think is interesting. Can you die? If so, what can kill you? This being thinks it's just hilarious that I would even ask that. Like, they said, all that is alive must transform itself. This is the way of it, you know. I sounds like the Mandalorian. This is the way. This is the way of it. It's the way of all things. All energetic beings come into existence and they move out of existence. And there comes a time to when their life cycle just runs its course. They really don't wear out as fast as we do because, they're energy beings that are physical. So they're very aware of the fact that if they breathe deeply, they can, methanate their cells. I was going to say oxygenate, but they can make their cells healthy and they can elongate their lives this way. We don't understand that about the biological body that we're in. Very few people do. Some people do if you're a yogi. Other people, if you're in the United States of America, just drink corn syrup for fun and wonder why we have diabetes. So we're so detached from our physical bodies that we don't understand that there is a way to, basically heal ourselves, and so they do die. And it's because the life cycle of learning has run its course. It's also because the cellular structure, it's just not, it's like a battery that you keep just trying to recharge and trying to recharge and trying to recharge and trying to recharge. And after a while, the cells just lose their ability to recharge because they are biological. These are not magical creatures, folks. These are living, breathing relatives of ours that live off-world, so they don't live forever, and they do die. Yes, they do die. They say that they do not fear it as we do, and that they understand that we would be asking this question from a place of mortality. We fear our life ending, and they still think that's just super weird because energy can't be destroyed, it's transferred. So even when their body is dying, after a very, very long lifetime, or, some of them die faster than others, or transcend is more, they're giving me a concept of more transcendence than death as they transcend to the next form of their life and into their next shape of life. And I've learned this from the Oturan over the years, going to the next shape of your life. That's what they call it, going on to your next life. People do mourn, even though they can feel their loved ones more readily in what we call the afterlife or heaven. They're showing me because they remain connected to them, regardless of the physical body state. They don't view death as much of an ending, although they have their own sadness, their own form of sadness and grief when people die. And this being is just kind of chuckling in its own way about what can kill you. They said destruction of their cells, just like us. If they destroy their cells too much, or they can't survive an explosion. If you blow their body apart, they can't put themselves back together magically. They're not made like that. But they can do a significant amount of healing if the body is damaged, if their body is damaged. So, you could probably, shoot one or do any of the things, and it's going to stop its systems. It's going to try to restart its systems, but if it can't, then it will transcend its body. So, yes, we most definitely can. They can die. And, and bacterial issues can kill them as well. They've done a lot of vibrating or resonation on their own plane of existence in order to kill a lot of the bacteria that would kill them. And they don't do a whole lot of hanging around on Earth. Orson Welles, who narrated H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, was not entirely off when old H.G. Wells talked about a virus or a bacteria making off-worlders sick. A lot of times our pollution makes them sick, so they stay away from us. But yes, they can die, and lots of different things can kill them. They do not consider themselves omnipresent. Next question. Are you aware of when I look at your planet and or sun? Well, we can't really actually see their planet and or sun, is what they're indicating. They are aware when we think about them. And if they are flying above us in a craft and we look up, they can feel us looking at them. Because again, gang, this is a telepathic species that is hardwired into the quantum field, and they tell us that we are too. We just don't think we are. So it's a whole different learning curve there. So even though we can't see their planet, if we're looking at their craft, they can feel that. And that's how we have a lot of communications with these beings, which I think is pretty amazing. Next question. Do you think you as a civilization will ever intervene with climate change? If so, how? Oh, man. Big answer, big answer. I gotta catch up here. This being is saying they've been trying since before the industrialized revolution. They were trying to bring green energy solutions to human beings. A lot of those human beings were discounted. They gave them to human beings through dreams, through inspirations, beaming them right into their head. Like we think of Tesla, Tesla, who takes all of the electricity out of the air. That's a lot of their technology. That came from the Oturan, And, folks from the Sirius A/B star system use that technology as well. So it's used by a lot of different folks besides us. We're still burning melted dinosaurs on this planet. But they've been trying to help us with climate change for a long, long time. There isn't much they can do for us at this point because of the carbon levels that we're putting out. They do have some technologies that can remove some of the carbon levels, but the problem is if they just went and scooped all the carbon out of the atmosphere, apparently now we've caused some damage with currents, we've caused some damage with ice melt, and that's going to put everything worse out of balance. The planet kind of has to naturally heal itself up, they're showing me. Otherwise, if they try to force it one way, then they have to deal with currents and they have to deal with a lot of other things. So they are trying to help us in different ways, and they have been for a very long time. And they're going to continue to do that, but they're going to stay in balance, they said. They cannot go out of balance with this because it causes the planet more harm than good, which I think is interesting. Okay, my God, my brain is blowing up. I don't know about you guys, but wow. Man, there's so many more questions. Okay. Here's the next one. What is the meaning of our existence? Is there a God? Dear Lord, Seb, that's awesome. What is the meaning of, do you know what our meaning is? They said that which is derived from the self. We have to figure out our own meaning to our existence. Our existence is whatever we decide the meaning is. And yes, there is a one that is all. That's what the angels call it. There is a God. There is a very acute, they realize what I was saying with God. And yes, there is a God. And they are aware of this being. They're in communication with this being on a regular basis. They are part of the children of this being. They're very aware that there is a God, and they're in harmony with this God. They say that we war against the God within each one of us. We war against God, period. We war against God by destroying our planet. So we are the ones that struggle with the idea of a higher power, or not even higher. It didn't like the word higher. This being is suggesting not higher, but more vast, more encompassing, a more encompassing power. That makes us nervous because this being is talking about the fact that we don't even accept our own power, let alone God's power. So yes, there's a God, and our existence is apparently whatever we want to do with it. That is apparently, according to this being, part of what this omnipotent being or this God asks us to do, is to define our own meaning and to bring that meaning to others. Our meaning is to find meaning. Our meaning is to define meaning. God, my head's blowing up. Is your head blowing up? My head is blowing up. Oh, Lord. Okay. So the next question, are you aware of my existence, as in me, Seb? Yes, they said. They say you are the one who looks to the stars. You are the one that talks to the stars in your head. You are the one that talks to the stars with your mouth. We're very aware of your existence, and we again, I invoke the law of love, or we greet you. So yes, Seb, they know you're there. How freaking rad is that, dude? That's awesome. All right. Oh, do you like me also doubt humans can build civilizations on Mars or our moon? Oh, do you like me also doubt humans can build I'm like, oh, they like you just fine, Seb. I don't get that question. Hello, Danielle. My God. Do you, like me, also doubt humans can build civilizations on Mars and on our moon? No, this being says that we have been on Mars before. Our kind has been on Mars. Our kind has has come from Mars to this planet before. So no, we know how to transverse space. We've just been wiped out so many times that we've lost this knowledge. Wow, my brain. I'm going to take a minute. The Oturan being said that the seeds of humanity came from another planet and inhabited us and then got wiped out, barely down to a nubbin, and restarted and restarted. Anybody else finding that fascinating? Because I am just like geeking out on that right now. So no, this being does not stay focused, Danielle. You can do it. Come on. This being does not think can doubt that we would build civilizations on the moon. They are more talking about, when they say the moon, I'm giving them a mental picture of what I'm talking about here. There are beings on the moon, on the dark side of the moon. There are plenty of beings up there. So, if we're going to be up there, we're going to have to share space with everybody. And they think it would be a little counterintuitive for us to be on the moon because of the water situation, although they say that we used to have technology that extracted water out of rocks. And so they don't, again, indicating that we've been wiped out for many, 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 many different times. The angels say that as modern humans, this is our third iteration of modern humans. So who even knows what we look like on Mars? That's just crazy to me. Wow. Okay. I'm going to keep going. I could talk about that for 100 years, but we're going to keep going. Do you have a history of wars and hardship like humans? Yes, they say yes. They went through a phase, and it was almost close to, geez, they're showing me our years, like 800,000 years ago. They went through a phase of dominion, they called it, or trying to have dominion over one another, trying to rule one another. It didn't work so well. They pretty much annihilated each other several times and came back from it and decided that was a bad idea. So, yep, they have a history of violence, which is why they kind of understand where we're coming from sometimes. And they have been through hardship, which is why they have decided that being in peace and harmony works better. Hello, humanity. Take it from the Oturan. They have been. And they've also decided that dissonance or low vibration, it just doesn't work on their planet. That's one of the reasons, like if I were to, or you were to, or any of us as humans were to go visit Oturan, if we could make it through a wormhole and go visit there, they'd have to keep, we'd have to be in a specialized environment because it's so high vibe there. It would really be tough to not shake apart any of the low vibrations we're carrying with ourselves because they've worked on it for so many generations over there. So we could get there, but boy, we'd have to really work on our consciousness and our fear and all kinds of things and be open to the telepathic communication that they are trying to give us to calm us down, because our mammalian tendencies would hit that lizard brain fear button. We'd go into a low vibration place and it would vibrate us right out of their incarnation because the vibe is so high. So, it's really interesting. Yes, they have gone through a lot of hardships and wars and weirdness and have made very significant choices to not recreate those issues for themselves. And that's why they are in this particular place that they're in now. And they don't think less of us. They see that we are suppressed. That's the word I'd choose. They just show me this blanket on us. I would choose suppression over that. Because of the violence, the scarcity mindset, and the way that the few hold resources from the many, and the fact that we are separated from the fact that we literally can create loaves and fishes like Jesus did. We can create matter out of thin air. We don't believe we can. Therefore, we don't. Therefore, we go into scarcity, starvation, and all this weirdness. And one of these days, you guys, we're going to figure it out. When the teacher Jesus, whether you're Christian or not, this is not important, but the teacher Jesus, the rabbi Jesus, came to earth and said, you're going to do as I do, not as I say. I'm a walking, talking visual aid for what you're going to do. And here's how you create more food. You just assume there is more food. Here's how you create more money. You just assume there is more money. Here's how you make good wine out of crappy wine. That's my favorite story. When Jesus made the good wine at the wedding and his mom came and asked him to do it because they were out of wine. And his mom, his good Jewish mom, is like, Jesus, we're out of wine. You can't let everybody suffer. That's bad manners. Get in there and make the best wine. I don't mean the bad wine. I mean the best wine. You're the son of God. I want good wine. Get in there. Get busy. So, there comes Jesus with the wine. So, they don't have the same struggles that we have. And however, they do understand hardship and wars because they've been there. Next question. Are you allies with humans, or are you neutral, or are you indifferent? Allies with humans, or neutral, or indifferent? Okay, what I'd say here is this being says they are the friends of all that are the cohabitants of this vibration that they're referring to, which they just filled me with, which is love. They love love. They are friends with anybody who loves love. They are not indifferent or neutral to us. They have to step away from us when we get too monkey-brained and reptile-brained, because we vibrate in a space that causes them dis-ease, and they can get sick from it, and then they have to heal each other out of it. So the interesting thing that I'm seeing here that they're talking about is they would be an ally, I would suppose, but they must step away from us when we get too violent. A lot of the Oturan run fascinating simulations with human beings, and I've been on the other end of these simulations where they run us through fear exercises to see how we're going to do with fear. And what's so interesting about that, what are you going to do with fear, is that if we get in there and we rattle out the fear, then that's what basically gets in the way of us being able to do the loaves and fishes Jesus thing, the more wine thing. It's fear, and it's hesitation, and it's believing we can't because we lower our vibration. We got to have our vibration way high to be able to receive these particular opportunities. It's hard, you guys, because we live in this suppressed world that suppresses us and forces us into fear, because there's a few people with billions of dollars and millions and millions and billions of people without anything. And I mean, the imbalance here is huge. So I would tell you that, just from this perspective that we're looking at right now, this is a really intense question, because they want to be our friends. We're not even our own friends a lot of the time. And when we're not our own friends a lot of the time, then they can't help us with that. They just flat out can't help us with that. So they are our allies if we would be our own allies. You see where they're getting it? This? Okay. And okay, here is the last question. Oh my gosh, I didn't think we were going to get through all of these. Wow. Okay. What is a black hole, and what is inside of them? Are they, what is this word? Portals. Are they portals? This being is saying some of them are, some of them are not. Some of them, they are portals, but not always to another place. A black hole is, of course, a compressed star. They blow up and they collapse in on themselves, and the gravity is so big that, think of poking a hole in, say you have a big stretched piece of rubber, and you're just holding this flat piece of rubber, two people are holding it up. Then somebody pours a little water in that piece of rubber, okay, like a rubber dental dam or something, and it just makes the rubber just kind of, just sag in the middle, and then you have a little bitty pool in the dental dam. Now, if I go underneath of that piece of rubber or latex and I poke that little bitty shallow pool of water that somebody poured in there with the pin, it's going to start to drain out the bottom. The gravity is going to suck that water through. And as the water sucks through, it's going to create a larger and larger hole in that piece of latex fabric. Okay? Because the weight of the water is moving through is going to make a bigger and bigger hole. And pretty soon, more and more pressure. That's what a black hole is. A black hole is the pinprick in the bottom of the stretched out piece of latex. So the pressure of matter, or the pressure of gravity, like the water above, starts flying through the back end of it. And white holes, this being is also informing me, and also physics informs us, that white holes are where all the matter from the black hole goes. It pokes a hole in another plane of existence and spills all the light out. because the light doesn't stay trapped. You can't trap light. It's going to move somewhere. So the black hole compresses the star. It basically rips a hole in space-time and pokes a hole in it, and then sends all of that light to another weak point in the fabric of space-time that will allow itself to be poked open by an equal amount of pressure. The thing about physics, you guys, is there's an action and a reaction in our third dimension. The thing about black holes is they can poke a hole, not just in our fabric of space, but they can poke, they're called a singularity, and that singularity can poke a hole through multiple dimensions. That's what they do. And they thread through until they find another space that lets that light out. Some of these black holes are portals. Some of them are just drains, like a hole in the bottom of a piece of latex that I've poked where the water's just draining out because there's too much pressure. So some of them are portals, and they are stabilized by neighboring stars. Sometimes they're stabilized by artificial means or artificial devices. And gravity, you guys, is we think of gravity as a force. Here on Earth, it's one of the just forces of the universe. That's what we call it, the mystical forces. Actually, and I do all kinds of physics writing on this one, but actually gravity is not, it's a repercussion of dimensional pressure. We view it as a force, but it's a reaction of being butted between multiverses. And that pressure creates gravity. It creates a weighty feel. Like if I lean on a sheet, it's going to move, right? So it's something leaning on this dimension, which creates what we call a force, even though it is a refraction of other dimensional pressure, is the way I would call it. Oh, I should have gone into astrophysics, you guys. Man, I tell you. So, yes, are black holes portals? Yes. Can we create a black hole? We on Earth cannot. We have to utilize what we've already got here. I'm asking this question. Seb didn't ask this question, but Seb, I can feel it's in your head. You want to know. So, can we make them? Well, we don't have the power here on Earth to create a black hole. That is so much power that's needed to do that. We just don't have that power. What we do have is a pretty incredible opportunity to become really aware of our vortex system on our Earth. And we do have portals or vortexes on the Earth that work as mini black holes. Like we can think about the electromagnetic disturbances of the Bermuda Triangle, which can bend space-time. And I've talked a lot about the Bermuda Triangle and a lot about Columbus and how they were seeing these walls of steel, iron, actually, they thought it was, that went in front of them, and they didn't understand what it was because, at the same time, the 1942 ship was looking out into the Bermuda Triangle and seeing a 3-masted thing with a bunch of guys in costumes smelling pretty bad, wondering what the hell they're doing with their cosplay down there. I mean, space-time's a weird thing, right? So black holes are a phenomenon caused by extreme, what we call gravitational pressure, that poke holes in space and can go to other places, like a wormhole. Some are able to be stabilized, some are not. There are naturally occurring, this being is saying, naturally occurring fissures in space-time around many, many different star systems. One of them being the Sirius AB star system, the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters, that's 7 big stars in fairly close proximity to one another comparatively. So there's a lot of places in our section of the universe that have a lot of stabilized black hole potential. And out in Arcturian, which is way far, I don't even think that's in our same leg of the Milky Way, you guys. I think it's so far away. And I think we go through one of these portals or these black hole fissures in space-time to get there, because their whole entire everything is so different. I mean, you have to remember, we're only in one leg of the Milky Way, and there's several legs to the Milky Way galaxy, and that's only one galaxy. I don't even know if they're part of our galaxy. They might be somewhere, they might be part of another galaxy. They try to show me, and it's just, I just see like the James Webb telescope with like dots all over it. So I think they're probably not from our actual galaxy. They're from other places, but they're able to travel through the portals, Seb. So I want to thank this being that came to talk today. And again, we've been interviewing a being from Arctur, which the internet calls Arcturian. This being is fascinating and has been very helpful. As you could see, we came across a couple of little cultural hiccups, but I think we got across those okay. That's my job as a translator, to try to figure out how to speak with these beings or try to find some relevance in their own culture. And I do love questions like this submitted for the podcast, you guys. So if anybody wants to submit these questions to the podcast, you can submit them to contact@Danielle Egnew, EGNEW-advisor.com. Always happy to get these types of questions. Seb, I really, really want to thank you for your intuition, your incredible conversations with this being from Otur. And keep your eyes to the skies, bud, because these beings are going to be visiting you in the most beautiful ways possible. Just stay positive, stay uplifting. That's how we get a chance to speak with our beings from Oturan. We will cause them harm if we're in a low vibration, you guys. And they're constantly running us again through these fear exercises to teach us to not be afraid so that we can reach out to them. It's a big deal. So there you go. My brain is melted. I'm going to go have, I don't know, some beef jerky and a shot of tequila. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go make dinner. I got to get my head around half of this information. This is awesome. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And I hope for the rest of this June anyway, that you stay cool. And as we roll into the rest of our summer, I'm pretty excited about where it's going to go. So everybody, stay cool. And I will see you next podcast.